Hello and welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with me, your host Jay. Today is my buy or sell video this Friday for the books I pulled May 20th, 2026. Now, before we get too far into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, please go ahead, hit that like button and that subscribe button as well so you never miss out on my nearly daily comic book content all throughout the week. Only day I don't post is Thursday and the weekends, but there are shorts posted all throughout the week. Now, let's go ahead and get started with what was the most anticipated book, I'm sure, for a ton of people this week. We have Absolute Green Arrow. This is issue number 1. It was 40 pages for $5. Now, just to start off with the artwork on the inside, it looks absolutely fantastic, and it starts off with a bang. We have Green Arrow killing who we learn to be is Jubal Slade in his own house, and he kills him. Then we find out that Slade was kind of the Epstein type of guy. Sorry for bringing in like a little bit of a political situation, but he was very into younger children, females in particular, and would bring them to his private island. And we learn that he really did not have a good way with talking to females, as we learn from Black Canary that she was close with Oliver and Slade whenever they were younger, about 8 years ago. She was dating Oliver and Slade was the roommates. And we learned that he got very frustrated. He would yell at them whenever the females that he would go up to that were around his age wouldn't talk to him or wouldn't treat him seriously. And therefore, he went to people or kids who didn't have a choice. And we also find out that Black Canary gets hired for this character of, what's most likely going to be a villain in the series, Malcolm Merlin. And they're going to be the bodyguards for Hector Hammond and his assistant, who are on the search for this device or this person that was really important to them, and Oliver Queen was in control of them. We also learn how Oliver Queen grew his billionaire success. It was with him and Slade creating Green Arrows Trading, essentially just a stock market, cheaper way to invest, and they made a ton of money from it. And we know that Oliver Queen died back in Absolute Evil. Hopefully you read that issue, because if not, that is a very, very relevant and a very, very important issue of the Absolute Universe to read. But then Black Canary, she's like, are these deaths related? Well, we see Jubal Slade with the 2 green arrows through his eyes. Crazy that was the Green Arrow Trading logo. We see the 3 candidates that they got. You see Roy Harper, Mia Dearden, and Tom Holloway. Of course, Roy Harper and Mia Dearden are probably going to be the 2 ones that it could potentially be. We just know that Tom Holloway is also into the Absolute Universe. So then they follow Hector Hammond, who, after Black Canary was thinking about it, she's like, yeah, I don't know, this really isn't for me, because she is a good person. She knows that Hector Hammond is an evil guy. He's like, oh, okay. You became a bodyguard to pay for your daddy's hospital bills. Okay, shut up real quick. Don't even try to interrupt me. I'm guessing insurance covers itself, maybe half. Except, no, daddy just lost all his coverage and he can't pay for anything now. Hector Hammond cancels the insurance entry, and now take a selfie of your stupid pig face so you remember what a brain-dead cow looks like when she refuses kind people making generous offers, and show up on Monday and be grateful we're paying you. I know Hector Hammond has been in the Absolute Green Lantern issues. I don't know if I've ever seen him more just disgusting, a rotten human being at the core, rather than that little entry there. We see that she finally does become the bodyguard. She helps Hector Hammond and his assistant go to this place where Oliver Queen was essentially keeping a prized possession. Then the Absolute Green Arrow shows up, slices the face with one of the arrows, and then the assistant starts to get poisoned and he ends up dying. A big blast happens and Absolute Green Arrow tries to kill Hector Hammond, tries to infiltrate the place with smoke. The mask looks so cool on Absolute Green Arrow. The character as a whole, the design from Raphael Albuquerque, is just absolutely fantastic. But then we see that he cuts off the hand of Hector Hammond which was absolutely insane. And he also kills his assistant, but at the end, we find out what the GA character, the Green Arrow character, was looking for. I'm not going to show you guys what they were looking for. You're going to have to read it to find out. And if you didn't pick up this issue because maybe your store didn't have it or you didn't know if you wanted to get it, this is 1000% a buy. It might be my pick of the week at the end of the week on Monday when I do my panel by panel comics review. It was just that good and that memorable. That issue is going to stick with me for quite some time. Just the insane willingness of the Green Arrow character to try to kill all these billionaires because he believes he's doing the right thing, and he believes that all billionaires are evil. That's why he went and killed Jubal Slade, and that's why he's going after Hector Hammond, because he knows that they are evil people at their core. It's just not known to the public. There was also emails that confirmed that Jubal Slade was this terrible human being that preyed on little kids, but Absolute Green Arrow, easily a buy for me. Next, we have another issue 1. These are all issue 1s this week. I picked up 5 of them. This is Odin, issue 1 from Tiny Onion under Image Comics. This is James Tynion's horror company, and he is one of the writers on this book. He's also helped out with Margaret Bennett. But we meet these group of neo-Nazi characters. Yes, literally neo-Nazis. And we start off with this character who we find out is Attila, trying to get in with this group. And they're led by this character named Austin, who gets her to join in. And he's pretty, he's not a smart character. You can tell, everything about him, he's just lying and he doesn't know what's true. He's just going along because he has this power over these people and he loves it. It's pretty easy to read him. Adela reads him without a doubt. But then you learn that she's not actually a neo-Nazi. She actually is just working under a journalism company, and she's undercover. She joins the group for an adventure that they say is how they get to the fatherland, how they will meet the Almighty and become the greatness like they already are because of their white skin. Really interesting book. If white power or white supremacy, Nazism triggers you or offends you, this probably isn't the book for you. But if you want to see the negative sides of it and see how these people just get put on their ass because they find out that that's not the truth, this is definitely a really good book for you. But anyways, they continue on their ride, and then they stop off for the guy that's been supplying all the money, funding their entire stuff. It's this dude named Fred, and he is the quote-unquote host. So we meet the 9 people that are there for the trip. You have Austin, Emma, Dylan, I believe Kevin, the host Fred, Adela, Tanner, who is Robert, who is the artist, Tanner is the soldier, and Caitlin, the beloved. But they make it to this forest, and I just want to say the art was really good in this issue. That's one thing with James Tynion's books. They're always going to have great and eerie art. The inking is very good. The trees looked really interesting. But then they start doing the ritual. They take the blood of the character named Tanner, and they sip on this drink made of some concoction that Fred created. He's the one that knows the most about this place. But then nothing was happening, and then it all turns into what feels like ecstasy, what feels like them orgasming or climaxing 24/7. That is literally the way it was described in the book. They see this deer, and they start to have fun with it. They start to eat from it after they get hungry. And it was just a terrible joy, a terrible feeling of orgasmic energy over and over again. That's how Adela described it. She's the one narrating the entire book. But then, after they come up from this high and they wake up in the barren wasteland, they find out, oh, we weren't actually eating a deer. We were actually eating Kevin, one of the people in this land. And they all start freaking out. Meanwhile, Fred, he ends up breaking one of the only phone that they had to call for help or anything. And then the group is just left stranded, and who knows what's going to happen in the next issue. They're stranded in the middle of nowhere. But Odin, I mean, this is a great horror book. James Tynion, anything he touches just turns to gold. I don't know if this is going to be like an ongoing series, if it's a mini series, but no matter what, Odin, for me, is 1000% a buy. If you guys are looking to get into horror books, especially horror comic books, I think there's no better place to start than with Odin, especially because it is a brand new series. Highly recommend you guys pick that one up. Next, we go to another Image comic book. This is Of the Earth, issue 1, 40 pages for $5. A lot of these were 40 pages for $5. I think there was, in fact, only one that wasn't 40 pages for $5, and shocker, it was a Marvel book. But Of the Earth, it opens up with this story. You can read it if you want to. It provides more context. You don't have to read it. I would, just because it provides more context of this oil monster, or this monster that's been basically coming up from the bottom of the earth and has had a bunch of people terrified of it. But then we start talking, we start to get to meet the new character of, not Sammy, I can't quite remember what her name is. Anyways, Tabby's her name, and she's talking to this girl named Sammy. She's on the run, kind of looking for her grandmother. We have no clue why she's going back to look for her. We know that she hasn't seen her in 10 plus years or something like that. But while out there, she gets pulled over by a cop. There wasn't a whole lot of dialogue in this issue, I will say. It was a whole lot of artwork, which is really great, from Charlie Adler, the guy that did The Walking Dead. Honestly, great artwork, but the story itself was not too compelling for me. It was pretty eerie whenever she got pulled over by this cop who just gives her a warning, telling her, hey, you just need to slow it down and be careful. But then she comes across this wolf or dog that looks like he's going through a really tough time. She stops to let him cross, but then unknowingly a car comes around, smashes the dog and runs it over. She goes out there and puts it out of her misery, and then she continues on to find her grandma, who ironically lives in a place called Solitude, with the population of 150 people. But whenever she gets there, it's very eerie. There's nobody in the house. There's just food on the stove on a flame. And then whenever she finds her, something is definitely off with the grandma. I'll put it that way. Of the Earth, 40 pages for $5 for me. A Charlie Condon book that I thought could have been a lot better. For me personally, it's going to be a sell. Now, I know people love Charlie Condon's books, but there just wasn't a whole lot of dialogue in that issue, and I want to actually know the story, and it wasn't compelling enough for me, because if it's just about some oil monster that's making these people deranged and making them lose their minds, that's just not for me. But let me guys know what you think of the Earth down in the comments. Next, we go to a Marvel book. This is Reborn Ultimate Impact. This is issue 1, 32 pages for $5. Now, this is going to be focusing around the origin boxes that Miles Morales pulled from the Ultimate Universe from Iron Lad to give to him to keep safe in case they ever need to use them again. But then he kind of gets sucked into a battle between himself and Spot. Spot is basically just trying to retrieve these origin boxes from an anonymous buyer. We don't find out who that is in this issue, but we do get the backstory of a couple characters. This new character that's going to be the second Wonder Man of Earth 616. This does take place on Earth 616, by the way, not the Ultimate Universe. It's just called Ultimate Impact because of the origin boxes coming from the Ultimate Universe back to the Earth 616 to create this new era of heroes and villains, which I thought was kind of dumb. We learn about these two other characters that definitely have a thing for each other, kind of like a Cloak and Dagger situation, except they're not mutants. We also learn more about this character. I can't remember her name, but Orson is one of the characters, and he's going to be very important for the rest of this series, at least from what I've seen on League of Comic Geeks. The battle continues with Miles and Spot, but then whenever Spot takes Miles into one of these spots, he loses all the origin boxes, and then Miles reveals, or not reveals, but he finds out, he's going to, that all these origin boxes went to these different characters that we met along the way, and they're all going to get their own powers. And what does that mean for the new Earth 616? What does it mean for the universe? Will they become heroes? Will they become villains? Who knows? But I'm sorry, Charlie Condon, you went 0 for 2 this week, in my opinion. That is also another sell. I don't know. I just felt like the whole premise was dumb. Not dumb, but it just wasn't intriguing for me. It didn't get me to want to read the next issue. The art was solid. Maybe it's just Miles. I don't know. Sometimes I struggle reading Miles Morales in the comic books. He's a whole lot better whenever it comes to the movies. But for me personally, it's another sell. Unfortunately, Charlie Condon 0 for 2. I do typically love his writing, but I don't know. Something about these two books just didn't get my attention and didn't want me to read the next issue. And finally, the fifth and final book in this episode, we have Seven Wives. This is issue 1 of 3, a very short miniseries from IDW. This is part of their crime catalog. This is written by Zoe Tunnell. She does the script. The artwork is done by V. Gagnon. And the artwork was really good. It opens up with the murder right away of this church leader named Matthew Dunn. We know that he has 7 wives. He leads this church that is very cult-like. And we meet the 2 detectives on the case. Their names are Detective Aguilar and then Detective Hallwell. And they start their investigation at the church with this massive Dunn family. They start with the first and true legal wife of Matthew. Her name is Sarah Dunn. She basically says that her duties are to serve him. He's the prophet of God. He was handpicked by him, and how everything used to be really good, and she gets abused. It's pretty simple to say that. Matthew abuses all of the wives, and she's kind of like the second in hand when it comes to beating or I guess disciplining the other wives in the family. And we also meet the next in line to succeed, which his name is Matthew. And it seems like Matthew might be more of a level-headed character, might not be as abusive or as disciplinary as his father. But then we also meet the character of Lucy, one of the other 7 wives in this issue. And she's one of the more strong-worded, ill-willed, or I guess more forthgoing. She definitely does confront Matthew on a lot of stuff. She's been born and raised in this church, just like all the other wives, and she's more of the outsider, even though she considers one of the other sisters to be the outsiders. Galilei? I don't know if that's how you say it. It's a Gallee. Anyways, they get her backstory. She is so abused. She's the most abused in the whole family. She gets whooped. She has scars all over her back, scars all over her body, and at the end, after Aguilar and Hallwell go out to this bar, she kind of reveals that she sees the torture in their eyes, the soullessness, the way that they fake laugh and fake smile just to get through the day, even though their lips barely touch their nose. Whenever you smile ear to ear, she's basically saying they don't smile at all. She talks about how her mother would look the same way whenever her father would do the same things to her. But then we see Lucy and scrummaging through the house, collecting what appears to be the murder weapon, and then she goes off into the woods and meets another one of the wives, I won't say who, and then somebody was trailing her, and maybe they're with her, maybe they're shocked by it, maybe they're gonna turn her in. But how does it all unfold? Do the 2 wives that go out to the woods that probably were the main culprits of this death, will they be the ones to kill her potentially because they don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to get ratted out? Who knows? But this was very intriguing, and 7 Wives for me is going to be a buy. It was 48 pages for $5. I highly recommend you guys get that book, especially since it's only a 3-issue mini. Very well written. The story is compelling. Now, if you are a hardcore Christian, you might be offended by some of the language they use in this book that are describing religion or Christianity as kind of a cult-like state. But honestly, what they were doing is very cult-like, because he had 7 wives, which isn't a Christian thing. He said he's the prophet of God, which is not exactly a religious thing. And then also just the fact of abusing his wife, abusing his children, doing anything that he potentially wants. It makes it very clear that he was not a good guy, but also what could that lead people to do even though they are devoted to him? It's very interesting, and that's very controversial, but in a good way. I think you could definitely go multiple ways of how you view this book. But let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of all the books discussed in this video. Which ones are you buying or selling, or the other books that you picked up this new comic book week? But guys, I'll see you Monday for my new panel by panel comics review with the rest of the books I pulled. But remember, keep reading those comics panel by panel, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.